but like I don't need to be first.
I made it.
Like as long as I could get done before like 11:45, I'm good.
Oh, definitely you'll get done before then. Should probably open that. I should probably. Oh, it's that weird boba guy.
Excuse me?
Shut up,
Dude.
Mom.
Shut up, Mom! Silence
Shut
from
up.
from talking.
No, I just had a horrible fucking sneezing fit, and I'm like, oh god.
Did you get the February illness of 2026?
Pretty much, yeah.
Everyone at my work was taken out by that. I was like the only person in the entire office yesterday.
I got
abysmal.
the February illness on January 1st and had it for an entire month and a half. So.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
No, I just have really bad sinuses.
All right, so I'm live right now. I probably should have said that.
Oh,
hello! I just got back.
hello, Regalius.
Hello there, people.
Hello.
Howdy.
So guys, y'all are gonna watch some slideshows.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Good, Anakin. Good.
Not entirely a slideshow, but that's okay.
Wait, what?
Mine, I just decided to choose a video that I'm going to talk about. Mine's not technically a slideshow.
It's fine.
Show and tell night.
I was not creative today. I feel.
Yeah, but I'm ready to start when y'all are. The main thing is shut up when people are doing theirs. I had to stop myself from saying mom.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my nose. God.
And I need Murph. Join, please. So Driptosaurus.
Is that an Interstellar reference?
No.
Here, should I just share my screen?
Yes. You should just share your screen. And
there we go. Can you see it? Is that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Let me know when you're good for me to start.
I'm good for you to start now.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Driptosaurus. For those of you not in the know, I make videos about science and video games most of the time. Today, though, I'm going to be talking about science of boring, terrible real-life animals. Specifically, a group of dinosaurs, birds, but they are dinosaurs, called Anseriforms, which includes ducks, geese, and little freaks like this guy on the right. That's an animal called Chonoides antiquus. All the specimens that I used for this research came from a museum called the Academy of Natural Sciences. It's the oldest natural history museum in the US, and I'm so gracious of them for helping me with this project because it was amazing and I could not have done it without them. I will ask, actually, I think it should be okay if all of this ends up in the YouTube video rather than just being on the stream because I don't go super in depth into the methods, and this should be submitted for publication soon. So no worries about sharing or copying any of this stuff. So first, let's go over a brief history of this group. By the late Cretaceous, you get the first true birds. This is about 80 or so million years ago is our earliest potential record of true birds. And then in the Maastrichtian, which is the last chunk of the Cretaceous, when you have guys like Mosasaurus and Tyrannosaurus running around, that's when we get the earliest definite record of true birds, and those mostly come from Antarctica. This throws a little bit of a wrench into the mix because our earliest earliest definite record of true birds that we know are for sure 100% birds, and by birds I mean anything more closely related to a modern bird than it is to any other group of animal. There is it is also potentially an Anseriform. It's called Vegavis, and people have reconstructed it in various ways. It's hard to tell whether or not it's a duck or a goose or any kind of waterfowl, or if it's just a weird convergently evolved bird. But we know it's a bird. Obviously, end of the Cretaceous, the non-bird dinosaurs die out. Right there. And then we make it into the Cenozoic. So in the early Paleocene, or more like the middle Paleocene, you get a bunch of big flightless galloanceres. So galloanceres is like the big group that includes inseriforms and also includes modern chickens. And at the beginning of the Cenozoic, a bunch of those guys get huge, they get flightless, and then in the Oligocene, you get a ton more of big flightless galloanceres showing up and dispersing around the southern hemisphere. So this is starting to present a trend. And then in the Miocene, particularly the Tortonian of the Miocene, in Italy, a whole bunch of anseriforms, particularly population of geese on Gargano Island, get huge and disperse and get flightless. And then today, starting just a few million years ago, we have smaller bodied flightless anseriforms that are currently evolving in offshore islands in Argentina. And when you start looking at all these species and their physiology, we start to get a little bit of a trend showing up. So two of these flightless anseriforms, specifically the true anseriforms here, have a really, really weird structure going on with their wing bones. And you can look, it's actually visible externally, it's right here, these little orange patches. And this is an animal called Tachyres brachypterus. It's a flightless duck from Argentina. These structures show up in various parts across the group in animals that are not closely related at all. And this is a very, very weird and derived structure. It's not it's not very easy to create, or so we thought. It's pretty complex looking from the outside. It's a weird modification of bones sitting underneath the skin. It would be kind of like if you were looking at a bunch of different herbivorous dinosaurs like ceratopsians and stegosaurs and ankylosaurs and ornithopods, and you notice that they all started to develop vagomizers, like spikes on their tail. So it's really, really weird to see that this weapon is showing up in all these different, not super closely related groups. This structure, this bony spur, is basically a projection of bone that comes out of the skin, and then there's a layer of keratin that goes on top, which is what your fingernails and the horns of like cows are made out of. It's super heavy because the bone is way denser than almost any other bone in the bird's body. And it's very costly because it's very heavy and it makes it hard to fly, and it's weird. So we're interested in it. Our central question is, why are they doing this? What the hell's going on here? What is driving this seemingly repeated evolution of this structure? But we're not sure that it's repeated. So another thing was to just test and double check that this was actually repeated evolution. So previous studies that have done this ended up relying on other people's reports of these animals. They basically just did a big literature review of early descriptions of the bones of these animals. Species had or lacked these spurs, and that makes sense because there were a lot of different species of bird, and it's hard to get access to all of them, especially in a museum collection, because museums don't tend to keep a ton of bird bones. They don't really keep very well, and so literature review has a lot of advantages. However, it can also include repeated errors that people thought were true and then just kept citing over and over again, and that creates this kind of false understanding of a group of animals. If enough papers repeat an initial claim that's not necessarily founded, it makes it seem like it is true, even when it isn't necessarily. And this isn't like some big grand conspiracy. This is just one single trait that these animals have, and it's sometimes easy to misconstrue if you're just looking at them from the outside or just looking at the bone. So then we get to the issue of specimen availability. Very difficult, again, to use actual bones from these animals because museums just don't really like keeping duck bones or really any bird bones if they're not fossilized. And to make ease of use here, we wanted to do as many living taxa as possible for our analysis because they can have soft tissue as well, and we can know what they look like from the outside. There's also a couple other issues with bones. They don't preserve external structures, and sometimes it's really, really hard to tell if a bone is actually attaching something on the outside or if it's just sitting buried underneath the tissue. Also, a lot of these skeletons are incomplete, and not all these species attach these weapons to the same bone in the wing. So if we're looking at the wing bones that don't have spurs on them in a given species, we might not be looking in the right place, and there might be another bone that has a spike coming out of it that we're not even considering. And again, just not a lot of bones in collections. So we had to find our data in new places. In case you didn't know, birds have bones inside of them. When we prepare birds for storage in museums, we remove most of their skeleton. So when a bird strikes a window, for example, and you donate it to a museum, if you've ever done that, a couple cities will have programs like that. What we're going to do is we're going to freeze that bird for a while to get rid of any pathogens, and then we're going to cut it open and remove most of its bones and all of its internal organs, but we do leave in a few bones to give it some structure. We leave in the bones of the front of the skull, the lower legs, a little bit of the tail, and the distal wings. Is it gonna? There it is. There's our bird flying in. And those are their distal wings. If you'll notice, the distal portion of the wing that we leave in includes the spurs. So, enter the X-ray and my gorgeous hand right there. We have a ton of these taxidermied birds, way more than any museum has in terms of their collections of bird bones. So when we are looking at these taxidermied birds, and we're realizing, oh my gosh, these all have bones in them that we can look at. Not only that, we can also look at the external and internal structures of the same individual if we X-ray them. This also lets us gather this data without killing new birds and without getting rid of any data from future projects. We know this because even though these are used for genetic studies, 1 or 2 X-rays is not going to destroy the genetic data in these specimens. There's previous studies on that confirm that it's safe to do X-ray imaging of museum specimens, and you can keep getting genetic data after that. There is a limitation here, and it's that because of the way that our X-ray works, and the fact that we're not able to pose these specimens very well because of like rigor mortis and stuff, and also the fact that they're bound with string most of the time that you don't want to destroy, we can't precisely measure how large the spurs are, so we are limited in that aspect of data collection. But if we're just looking for presence and absence of certain traits, it's not that much of an issue. And here's an X-ray. You can see here, you can see this very light and porous bone in most of the body, and then right as you get to the spur, that bone gets super thick, and then around the edge here, that's your keratin cap. That's like your horny sheath. And then on the end of the wing here, where you would not really expect another one to be, there's another spur, and you get that same pattern of the bone getting denser, and then you have that keratin sheath on top. And then this is the thumb of the bird. This is the metatarsal or the metacarpal of the first finger, so that's like the front part of the pointer finger. And this is the metacarpal of the second finger, so that's the middle finger. And in birds, they do this really weird thing where they actually fuse both of these together. So the bones, the first bones of the pointer finger and the middle finger are attached together. So our first thing that we found is that we ended up resolving a lot of conflicts when it came to literature looking at these birds. A few species were either counted as having spurs when they don't have them at all, and some species were counted as not having spurs when they do in fact have them. And with this analysis, we can really set the record straight when it comes to looking at which organisms have or don't have this trait, which is super convenient. So these are a breakdown of some of our more interesting changes. None of this is final. We are still doing a little bit more imaging to super make sure that this is correct. So please don't go posting this anywhere being like, oh, this is the definitive guide to what these other papers got wrong. Not yet. Wait until this gets published, please. and everything gets double and triple checked. But here's some interesting things that we found. So some of these organisms that have historically been considered not to be spurred are, and some of the ones that have been considered to have these spurs, we found don't have them. Their bones are just structured in a way that when you're looking at a skeleton of them, it makes sense that there would be a spur attached there. And others are like, they look like they have spurs from the outside because they wear down the skin, get rid of the feathers there, and it gives the impression that there's something poking out, but it's actually just bare skin. Our second chunk of results is looking at actually what's driving the evolution of these spurs. A big one is that they're correlated with non-migratory behavior. So the birds that have these spurs are settling down in one place and not migrating anymore. And that makes sense because spurs are really heavy and it costs a lot to fly with them. It doesn't necessarily mean that the animals that have these can't fly, but it does mean that in many cases they're very poorly adapted for long distance sustained flight. And this guy on the right is an extinct bird from the Miocene called Garganornis balmani. And it is a spurred goose from Italy. So, and then here's our reconstruction of where we think these traits evolved. We find that they emerged two of these kinds of spurs. So the orange type, which is a paired spur on the front and back of this bone, they only show up once over here. And these guys, these are called the anhimids. They're some of the earliest diverging waterfowl. And then we have these spurs, which are attached to a muscle attachment point on the carpometacarpus. And they show up a whole bunch of different times independently. So this is convergently evolving multiple times throughout the tree. And our analysis did not determine that it was very likely for this to be an ancestral trait for the group. So that's really, really interesting to look at, that this is really highly convergent. And it makes sense because a lot of these look super different from the outside. And then we have this weird guy, Plectropterus gambensis, down here, that's modifying one of the bones in the wrist rather than a finger bone to make those spurs. It's possible that this holds true across other groups that have spurs. For example, a lot of shorebirds, or not shorebirds, but like swamp birds like Jasanas have spurs. And so we're interested in looking at that, but I also don't want to step on other people's toes because I know that there is some Jasana research going on. I don't know if it covers this specifically, but that's why I didn't really want to expand my data set outside of ducks and geese because I wanted to not do what other people were already doing. So what does this all mean? Our studies do support the consensus that spurs are negatively correlated with long-distance flight. We suggest that extinct spurred birds were probably not migratory because none of the living spurred ducks or geese are migratory. And we got a pretty strong correlation between lack of migratory behavior and the development of these wing spurs. We got a weird trend where one of these bones in the wrist, the radiale, was really bizarrely large across a bunch of closely related species. And sometimes it had a spur attached to it, sometimes it didn't. And weirdly, we don't seem to see territoriality as a major driver of spur development because a lot of territorial species lack spurs, and our analysis didn't return a very significant correlation between those two. Here's my works cited for this presentation. Thanks everybody for watching. Sorry if I went over time. Yeah.
Okay, the audio does not catch me clapping, so we're gonna ignore that. But
I got you. Wait. Where's it?
Do we have a clapping soundboard?
Yay!
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
That was awesome,
Right.
man.
I will stop.
That was actually
streaming now.
really interesting.
That was really cool, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I was late.
I love birds.
No, you're good. Birds are awesome. They're some of the coolest dinosaurs ever.
They're awesome. Is anyone in particular like to go next?
I would like to go next.
Iguana,
Yes.
get up here.
Alrighty. Do I have it open? Yes, I do. Okay. Just share my screen.
Yes.
All right. Can y'all see it? Good.
I can see your screen.
Okay.
And
You're
it's showing
showing
my
me a
audio.
call. We can hear everyone.
All right. Can everyone see like the title thing?
No, you're shooting
Okay.
Discord.
What? Okay. Let me.
Yeah.
I'm a stupid chud. Let me figure this out.
No, you're not.
Whoa. Holy.
Holy guacamole.
All right. I think I figured it out. Now can everyone see it?
Yeah, Godzilla.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love Godzilla.
I love
Okay.
Kaiju.
So my presentation is why Godzilla on YouTube is peak. So first I want to talk about his filmography. They kind of are on a sliding scale of like serious films about allegories for nuclear weapons and war. And then on the other end you have sumo wrestling, monsters, and brain rot. And there's not too much in between, but there is some. And essentially my point of view is Godzilla needs to either pick, well, Godzilla Project needs to either pick if it's going to be, like these films that are allegories for nuclear destruction, or if it's going to be brain rot. Because if it can't pick an extreme, the movie clashes with itself and it doesn't always work. Although Godzilla 2000 is a very cherry-picked example. All right. So why I think the YouTube content is peak compared to most of the movies is many of the movies either can't commit to the seriousness or the brain rot, or like Godzilla 2014 and some of the very old Godzilla movies, he is a guest star essentially. It's like you'll have a 90-minute movie and he's on screen for 2, maybe 3 minutes. And in Godzilla 2014, I think the movie's 2.5 hours. And not even trying to make a joke here, I think he's in the movie for about 6 or 7 minutes. So some stuff on YouTube. You've got the Shelter 54 analog horror video. Essentially, Godzilla's cells bind to some people and plants, and it creates this really cool body horror monster. You've got the Man in the Suit. Sorry, that's the wrong thing. Man in the Suit, where the guy literally becomes infused into the rubber suit. Because I don't know how many of y'all know this, but back in the day, um, Godzilla was done with a guy in a rubber suit with balsa wood buildings and fireworks. You obviously got the Godzilla animated series, and this channel called Varanho, which makes like these silly animations, but he also does pretty cool fight videos. And there's some other things on here too that other people should check out. So why I think it's peak. The serious and dark projects are often more so than the movies, although I think that's because some things that are shown, like the body horror or the Godzilla cancer crawling on the ground, I don't think you could show that in a movie. And the stuff that's goofy, like the Triangle versus Monkey series, it's just the two extremes are just done better most of the time on YouTube. And some of the fun and goofy stuff can still be fun and goofy without always going into brain rot. And in my opinion, a lot of the fight videos are done better. But that's because you don't have to sift through a 90-minute or 120-minute movie to get to the fight. But not to be a Debbie Downer, I've always loved Godzilla movies since I was very young and still do. These movies were my childhood, and I still love both the community projects and the films equally. I do just wish official stuff could be made more frequently, and I hope the entire community, both official and online, could just make better quality. But I know that's not really something I have control over. Here are the channels I featured in case you want to go look them up and subscribe. They're all wonderful. And thank you for watching. Thank you.
You got stuck in my head.
Amazing.
That was very good.
You got stuck in my head. The Godzilla song at the end of the 2019 movie.
Yo,
Oh yeah.
that shit was heat back in the day.
That stuff is heat. Would anyone in particular like to go
Surge.
next?
I need to go next because I have to leave after this.
Got this. And also, so
All right.
this is a slideshow stream where people are doing slideshows because it's peak.
Yes.
Is that working correctly?
Yes.
It indeed
Is
is.
it supposed to be say, hey guys?
Yes, it's supposed to say "Hey guys" because
Got it.
I have to set up my background music. Hold up. All right. So, my name is Fat Acro, and I'm here to tell you why Gen 5 Pokemon slaps. This is a very unserious slideshow, and you're not gonna learn much here. So, the region it's based off of, the Unova region, it's based off of America. It has cool bridges and has the best cities in all of Pokemon. The Pokemon look better in this game than they do in any other game. I know the new trailer for the Gen 10 just came out, but I mean, you can't beat the sprites. I'm gonna be honest. 3D is never gonna look as good as the sprites did, and this is the best the sprites ever got. The soundtrack is absolutely peak. I cannot think of many games that have a better soundtrack than Gen 5 Pokemon. The characters are elite across the board, and I can remember at least 30% of their names, which is impressive for me because I'm dumb. The story is brilliant and is better than anything that Shakespeare has ever come up with. And they should be making high schoolers read this instead of things that they read now. I can't remember what I read in high school. That was a long time ago. Okay, so minor glazes aside, competitive Gen 5 is one of the greatest generations of competitive Pokemon. The TMs are reusable starting in Gen 5, which is a really nice quality of life. It's the best Pokemon generation, fight me. It has a higher fighting starter, so that's pretty cool. That's definitely a unique combo that's never been done before. The elemental gyms are basically only good in Gen 5, and they're really funny because you can use them in competitive to just one-shot people. If you don't know what they are, they just give you a one is it 2 times boost or is it 1.5 times boost? I don't remember, but on like a single move one time. So you can just hit a Draco Meteor and it'll do like 200 base damage. Very funny. And it's one of the greatest games of all time. Did I mention the music? Also Tedpick. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you.
Very nice.
As someone who grew up with Gen 5, that was peak. Thank you, good sir.
Who thinks Black 2 and White 2 is the best Pokemon game, this is peak.
That's fantastic. I love Haxorus.
I also love Haxorus.
Crocodile is straight up my favorite Pokemon, dude.
Yeah. All right. Would anyone like to go next? Or am I going to have to volunteer myself?
Do we have... I'll go next.
Well, I can't stay for the next presentation, but I'll definitely come back and watch this later. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, man.
Yeah, I'm also going to head out. Thanks, everybody.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Awesome slideshows.
You are going next.
I'm
Boba.
scared. My cat is like freaking out. Okay, I want to preference. This is an entirely satirical slideshow, and you will see that. Can y'all see it? Or?
Yes.
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay. So this is why Achinosaurus is a real dinosaur and not a piece of wood. Thank you for watching. This is a slideshow by Mr. Boba. Not, old name, Bobasaurus 300. Okay, anyway, let's go. Basically, meet Achinosaurus. Discovered and named in 1842, Achinosaurus was a duck-billed dinosaur living in the late Cretaceous Egypt, a possible prey item to dinosaurs like Spinosaurus. Now, we actually have proof of it, as you can see by this totally non-photoshopped image of a Spinosaurus tooth inside of something that is not a log. This is very much a real bone of a hadrosaur dinosaur from Egypt. It totally existed, and here's yeah. So you can clearly see in this image I've presented that this is a fragmentary jaw fossil. You can see it's obvious. You can see a little beak right there. Most of the skull right here. Obviously maybe some teeth is right there. You got the whole gist. And I even put a little side by side. So let's look at this. So you see, wood logs, jaws. You see. There's no, it's obviously different. It's obviously jaws. Like there's no way. My cat's freaking out. Anyway, and here we have actual, not actual, all real as well jaws of hadrosaurs. So you can see all the similarities. The teeth right here, totally teeth right here. Yeah. And it's just obvious that like, there's no way it could possibly be petrified wood. There's just no way. Like it has to be. You see this? Boom, 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 boom. You see how similar it is? Like there's no way it couldn't be. And then look at this one. This one right here. You see like the tooth-like thing right here? tooth right here. You see? Look how similar that shape is. Like it's just so obvious that like this has to be a real animal. And yeah, like anyway, in conclusion, it's just obvious that looking at the fossils and just the side by sides that like it's a real animal. There's no way it could be wood, you know? Like it's just obvious. And yeah, and there's obviously then there's proof of predation too. There's proof that it was eaten by bigger animals, like right here. Obviously, ignore the watermark. So yeah, that's my that's my my thing. So. Oh, wait,
What was that?
It's very stupid.
What?
20 minutes.
I know.
All right, I gotta get out of here. That was
All right,
wonderful.
Viagra.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay.
And then there was 4.
Who Thou Shu would like to go next?
Who, me?
Yeah, I guess. Go up there, Eat Master.
No, I don't want to do it. No.
You have to.
You have to.
Oh,
Good,
okay,
Anakin.
fine.
Good, Anakin. Good.
All right, can you guys see it?
Yeah, we can see him.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Yeetmaster, and that is my iconic catchphrase over there. And my presentation today is on Murder Drones' representation of paleontology. See, you got a little Spinosaurus mirabilis in the background. See, got have that new hot stuff in here. But this poses the question: how is there even paleo in here? Like, isn't this show like just about like robots and stuff? Well, here's the thing, buddy. We got ourselves some anti-drone sentinels right here. Live anti-drone sentinel reaction, and anti-drone sentinels are robot dromaeosaurs because, as you can see with their form and their sickle claw. Wait, hold on. Can I put on the laser pointer? Yeah, laser pointer. See, got the sickle claw right here. As you can see, it's obviously a dromaeosaur, and one of them even has a name, and his name is Sparky. He has a cool cowboy hat, and he's awesome. But you see, the thing is, these robot dromaeosaurs aren't really that accurate because it's got pronated wrists and everything. Like pronated wrists, disgusting, absolutely abhorrent, atrocious. But here's the thing: I really don't care if it's inaccurate. Like, I just want to see a cool robot dromaeosaur mess shit up and wear a cowboy hat and be best friends with a bad bitch. So, thank you, everyone. And this was my presentation.
I'm trying to fit the thing.
Thank you.
It was lovely.
It was lovely.
Thank you.
It's a marvelous indeed. I'm Pops.
Okay, get out of here.
Good show.
I'm sorry. I'll just.
You're a bit. No, I'm joking.
No,
I actually mean it.
Good.
You're banned.
You're bad. Okay, who would like Kyla? You and I aren't so different, Batman.
I kind of threw something together kind of last minute while you guys were talking. Is probably a pretty cliche topic, but I don't
You're
care.
good.
So I can go next.
Got it.
Yay.
Okay. All right. I got mine. We good?
Ooh.
I figured I would talk about the very obvious topic, as you can see by the screen, of the Isle versus Path of Titans, because now I have played both for a pretty decent amount of time, and there's pretty key things that I've noticed difference in between based on my experience with them both. For one, we're going to go over the topics. Oh, I misspelled that part. I was spelling it too fast. Oh well. We'll go over the realistic danger gameplay challenge. That's supposed to be an A, and then fighting. For realistic, obviously the Isle wins with realism. However, I do think that when it comes to Path of Titans, one thing that's very fascinating with that is because of the mod developments, you can have very accurate looking dinosaurs based on the amount of mods and who creates them. So even though the Isle does visually win when it comes to the environment and how realistic its features are, part of me is like on a toss up on who's actually to win based on the dinosaur part. As for danger, definitely the Isle wins when it comes to danger aspect just because you lose all of your growth whenever you die. So because of that, the Isle's from experience is a lot more dangerous and I have a lot more struggle growing up in the Isle compared to Path of Titans. Gameplay challenge, I think that they're both equal when it comes to gameplay challenge to a certain extent, but the way that they're challenging is very different. When it comes to the Isle, your biggest challenge is just trying to keep yourself fed. While inside Path of Titans, I think your biggest challenge is more not necessarily feeding yourself, but just like interacting with other people. So that creates a very big difference between the two. Fighting wise, I think that I've noticed there's such a different type of vibe with fighting compared from Path Titans to the Isle. Path Titans, oftentimes I see people like crouch up against a tree or rocks or something like that, and they're very strategic because they have all the different types of fighting mechanics and stuff. While in the Isle, all the fighting's very much in the open. So I've personally been struggling with learning how to fight in Path of Titans because I'm so used to fighting in the Isle and stuff. So I'm a pretty decent fighter in the Isle, but I am sucking at fighting in Path of Titans, which is causing uh me to look like such a bad player. But I am learning. I am slowly learning, but in stuff, and all the different keys are really being very tricky for me and stuff. But I'm enjoying the challenge of learning the difference between the two. But those are just some of the things that I've noticed playing differently amongst them. If I were to pick a favorite, I can't. I enjoy them both. I definitely think that the Path of Titans is less stressful to play compared to the Isle, and better for playing with large groups because you can meet up much easier. But overall, the Isle, I do appreciate just the general survival aspect of it. But anyway, that's my presentation. I'm done.
I guess I'll go.
Oh yeah.
Share my
It's your
screen.
turn.
So, can y'all see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
everyone, I would like to introduce to you the greatest court case in United States history. United States versus one Tyrannosaurus Batar skeleton. So, you got this guy, Eric Propke. He smuggles a Tyrannosaurus Batar skeleton, I'll get there when we get there, out of Mongolia to the United, and then he brings it to the UK. And then he brings it to the United States and tries to sell it to someone. But the government notices and says, no, 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 that's property of Mongolia. You can't do that. So, the case background. The sale breaks the Stolen Property Act as it deems that property of other countries is something that cannot be sold. The documentation for this was also falsified, and the fossil was proved. And they also said that the fossil was not from the United Kingdom, as the original buyer said it was from the United Kingdom and not Mongolia. But on the side of one Tyrannosaurus Batar skeleton, or really Eric Propke, you have the fossil was argued to be multiple different animals. And he said that the animals, or the fossil, came from multiple different places. He also claimed that the statute of limitations was up for the sale and that it was a good faith purchase. So, I got one problem. Tyrannosaurus Batar is not real. It's not. And I know all of y'all are probably like, why is this guy on about Tyrannosaurus Batar? Yeah, it's Tarbosaurus batar. And there's just another problem. It's not from the United Kingdom. It's from Mongolia. So the case happened, and ultimately the ruling was that the skeleton from Mongolia had to be returned. Now, why? Because the paleontological evidence showed that yes, this was one individual, and yes, this was from Mongolia and not the United Kingdom. The legal precedent that this set was that paleontological evidence could be used in court cases, and the original fossils could be seized by the federal government and repatriated to the country of origin. It also has a couple of cultural impacts, such as it brought major awareness of fossil poaching during the time, and it was taken more seriously on the international stage. Nicolas Cage also had to return a Tarbosaurus skeleton he bought and had to bring it back to the Mongolian government. So, yeah. But that is everything. And we solved fossil poaching, and it will never ever be an issue again. And there are my citations. I think that's everyone.
Was lovely. I think it is.
Well,
Yep.
thank you,
All right.
everyone, for showing up. Skyla, I will be, because you're all, it's 11:50 for you now, right?
Yes, it is.
I-
The queue for the particular server is so freaking long, so it's probably going to take 30 to 45 minutes just to get into the dinosaur.
Got it. Also,
I forgot to load that up. I tried last night. Sorry.
thank y'all so much for joining the stream, and I will be joining Skyla's live stream soon-ish. So bye-bye, y'all.
Soon